Time now for the French press review. Florence Villemino joins me in the studio. Hello to you, Florence.
Good morning.
So we're starting off looking at the big story of the day, of course, here on France 24, and that's the release of our journalist in Colombia, Romeo Langlois.
That's right. Now, articles are just starting to trickle in, so I'm sure there'll be more throughout the day. We're going to start by looking at Le Figaro. Langlois a recouvré la liberté. So Langlois free at last, and there's a photo there of him surrounded by FARC rebels, carrying the camera. As we've seen, he was filming his whole release. He allegedly said, I'm a bit tired, but I'm okay. The FARC rebels treated me like a guest. They were very respectful, and I have nothing to complain about. Now, that's in Le Figaro. There's also an article in Libération. Le journaliste français Romeo Langlois, libéré par les FARC. So, once again, a very factual article in Libération. According to this article, François Hollande said that he was very happy about the news in a communiqué. Now, as I said again, this news is just starting to trickle in. I'm sure there'll be a lot more articles throughout the day.
Definitely some comment pieces, I'm sure, following as well on the FARC's treatment of Romeo Langlois. Okay, now we're going to go to Brussels, and François Hollande, he's been getting a lot of press, hasn't he? And there's a warning being issued to him.
A warning, yes. This is on the cover of Le Figaro, the right-leaning newspaper. Bruxelles met en garde Hollande. Brussels gives a warning to Hollande. Now, according to this article, the European Commission is worried about a lot of Hollande's campaign promises regarding minimum wage, pensions, and the country's deficit. Now, the European Commission has called for swift, solid, and concrete measures to bring France's public deficit back to 3% of GDP, according to European law. Now, this alleged warning by Brussels is also on the cover of the business daily Les Echos. The European Commission issued recommendations to Hollande that aren't going to make his job easier, according to the business daily. The Commission has said a great deal of efforts are needed, once again, to bring this deficit back to 3% of GDP. These recommendations go against his campaign promises. For instance, he wanted to slightly increase minimum wage or bring retirement back to 60 years in certain cases. So the business papers are covering this a lot. Now, Hollande also received a warning from France's Cour des Comptes, so a court of auditors, who also have called on the president to rein in the country's budget.
So everyone a little bit concerned about perhaps too much spending in the pipeline. Now we're going to move to the left-leaning paper Libération, which is investigating the true composition of the government, which is not looking as diversified as we might have thought.
That's right. Now, when the government was first shown to the French public, it was a pretty picture. People thought, oh, this is a government that represents France. It's diverse with gender equality. Now, the left-leaning paper looks at the reality behind the government and says that the picture is pretty white and pretty male-dominated. Les cabinets blancs de la République, so the white cabinets of the Republic. Libération has carried out an investigation to see just who is in the ministries, who's in the cabinets. And it looks, as I said, it looks like there's a gap between the political will to have a very diverse and gender equal government and what the real politics. For example, according to Libération, of the 140 cabinet chiefs and directors, there are only 38 women, so a very different picture from the official government.
Yeah, it's not
ministers.
just about the faces in the cabinet, is
exactly.
it? It's about the echelons lower down.
Exactly, that's exactly what they're saying.
Okay, Le Parisien is taking a closer look at the new government as well, and which has always wanted to come across as more normal than the government of Nicolas Sarkozy. Are they succeeding? Well,
that's the thing. The Parisien points out that François Hollande's government wants to look more normal, more simple than Nicolas Sarkozy's bling-bling government. And one of the things the ministers want to do is, for instance, show that they don't take private jets and everything. They walk around in public just like normal people. And according to Le Parisien, this is proving to be quite a headache for the Secret Service. Sécurité compliquée pour protéger les ministres normaux. So it's very complicated to protect
That's
these,
a repercussion you might
normal.
not think of, actually.
Exactly, you don't think about that every day.
Can you, when you're a politician?
Exactly, and for instance, there's an interesting article inside which shows, for instance, that François Hollande likes to take the train instead of the plane when he can. He likes to be very up and close with crowds, or many ministers take public transport or even their bicycles. There's a funny cartoon in Le Parisien which shows just what this means for the Secret Service, and there you see a bunch of Secret Service men who have tackled this poor guy, and they say, the minister almost missed his metro, we had to arrest the train driver. So very
slight overkill there. Just very briefly, Florence, we've got time to talk about the upcoming legislative elections, which French press is covering today.
That's right. There's a very interesting article in the Parisien because these legislative elections, obviously there's a lot at stake politically, but there's also a lot at stake financially. And this article points out that this election could bring millions of euros to the different political parties in public aid, because the amount of public aid allocated to the different political parties depends on the number of MPs that they have elected. For instance, in 2012, with 419 MPs, the UMP received just about 30 million euros, whereas the Socialist Party, with 311 MPs, received 22 million euros. Now, this can make a big difference for the party's finances, especially for smaller parties.
Thank you very much for all of that. Our press reviewer, Florence Villeminot.